What is going on, all you Pokemon collecting maniacs out there? This is Ryan, the Pika Pika Papa, and if it looks like we have 7 suns barreling upon us today, it's because we actually do, because I am about to start pre-screening and getting some cards ready to send off to PSA for grading. And when I do, every light in the house is on, and rightfully so, because details matter when we are going through this exercise. So, hey, we have talked a ton about booster packs and booster boxes and ultra premium collections, but we haven't talked anything about card grading. And listen, card grading is not for everybody. I'll tell you, in the sports card space, like, card grading is life. I can't tell you how many slabs I have at my house with football cards in them, and I can't tell you how many cards I've submitted to PSA over the years. It is a ton. In the Pokemon space, it's not as big of a deal. You certainly have people on one side of the fence or the other. Obviously, I'm a grader. I think the long-term trend in Pokemon is going to start moving towards grading at some point. I just think as more and more people like me transition from, sports cards into the Pokemon space, and I think as Pokemon matures, just in the fact that as cards get older and older, I think we're going to have more demand for grading. So why not get graded at now? Let's play chess while everybody else is playing checkers. All right. So all of this crazy stuff in front of me are my tools of the trade when it comes to getting cards ready for grading. So listen, before I get into that, I'm gonna show you a lot about grading. I've shown you a lot about technical analysis and data trends in the box and pack space. If you're into that kind of stuff, we'd love it if you join the channel. Like, hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, drop a comment down below. We're doing some really cool stuff here, and I can tell you the community that we've put together already are just full of some amazing individuals. And they impress me every time with their questions. So we'd love to have you join the group and continue to build with us. Now that that's out of the way, all right, first thing that I want to call out is, look, this is a towel. This isn't anything special or anything crazy, but I put a towel down. I can't tell you, I've tried all kinds of things to do my cleaning on over the years, but when I'm getting cards ready, and the towel is the best, and here's why. I use a Q-tip for so many things when I'm doing this, and if you look at this card right here, like if I want to go pick it up, the things you got to do if it's on something hard, a lot of times you got to work the edges, or you got to dig a finger underneath or something. When it's on a towel and you use a Q-tip, all you got to do is kind of slide it underneath and roll it up, and you can grab the card. Because you never want to grab it by the middle when you're getting it ready for grading. You want to grab it by the sides, because PSA grades the card as you send it. Now that means if I go and I put a big old thumbprint right on the middle, doesn't matter how great the edges are or the corners are or the centering are, right? If that thumbprint is in the middle, they're going to grade the card with the thumbprint on it, okay? So that's going to mark the surface down, and you won't get a 10, you'll get a 9, or you won't get a 9, you'll get an 8, and that can be catastrophic, right? Like, we're talking about the difference between a 9 and a 10 in terms of value is huge, and in some cards it can be hundreds of dollars. So when I go through this process with you right now, it is going to look ridiculous. It is going to be like painstaking, and you're going to say, why the heck do you do all of that? And it is because over time, the way I've done this, I feel like I get really, really good returns from PSA. And this has been over the course of years. This isn't just one good submission, right? I also have this really, really cool trick, which I'm going to share with you at the very end. It's not even a trick. It's a cheat code. It is, if you don't do, I don't understand why people don't do it, because it costs you no additional money and it provides nothing but upside for you. So anyways, we'll get to that at the end, but I just wanted to do a little teaser, so stick with me because it's going to save you tons of money if you do any grading in the future at all. All right, so we got this here. I told you that I use a lot of Q-tips, right? And that's because whenever I have interactions with the card, I want to touch it as little as possible, especially with my hands where you have oil and fingerprint, but even with the contact of like a Q-tip or something. This right here is a microfiber cloth. Brand new. Whenever I sit down to do any type of pre-grading or whenever I get cards ready, I use brand new materials. These are brand new Q-tips. This is a brand new microfiber cloth. And when I'm done with it, I'm going to throw it out. You know why? A 3-pack of these cost me like $3. And again, why risk transferring something from one cleaning session to the other? Just use a brand new one. Okay? Again, getting higher grades is the key here. We all want 10s. Everybody wants 10s. So I don't even use the Q-tip to make direct contact with the card. I take the Q-tip and I wrap this microfiber cloth around it. I'm careful not to touch this part because that's the part that's going to touch the card, but I wrap the microfiber cloth around it and I make sure I have a little bit of a flat edge right here. And then when I need to clean the card, I just work it like this, ever so gently. Work it out. You never work from the outside in because you don't want to nick the edges, you don't want to chip a corner or anything like that. You want to work from the inside out. And small circles are okay. And going over the corners is okay. It never works, but if you see a little bit of white, you can try and lay it down a little bit. It's not going to work. Again, I try and touch it as little as possible with my fingers. I let the puff of the towel kind of hold the card in place for me. So I'll do that. And the most important thing, and people forget this all the time, Don't forget about the back. Don't forget about the back. Backs matter. So I'll take that, I'll spread my towel out, and I'll give the back a little love. So now that I've done this superficially, I want to make sure that I've really gotten everything that I can off of this card. So you know what I do next? I call in the big guns. This is a 10x magnifying lens with a light around it, okay? You are going to be amazed what your cards look like under 10x magnification. You will see things that you've never imagined with the naked eye. Your cards are going to look filthy, even though you just gave them the quick once over. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to connect the camera to this or do it under magnification, but just remember, you have to use something like this in order to make sure you get everything off. Microns matter. Little dust bunnies matter. Everything matters. Make sure you are doing it the right way. Use the lamp, use the light. I'm going to turn this back on so we can keep seeing everything that's going on. So let's say that I'm using my microscope. God, that word was hard for me. Let's say you're using your magnifying lens with your light and you see something on the front of the card. I'm going to flip this gently, move it over. Let's say you see something on the front of the card and you're cleaning and it just won't come off. This is a metal straw. Okay? You can use plastic. I like metal because I think metal transfers the heat and I think it transfers the moisture better than the plastic. It might just be me being crazy, but that's how I feel. And if there's something on here that I just can't get off with this microfiber cloth in the toothpick, I'll take my straw and I'll just put some hot air onto that spot. Just a little bit of hot air, and I'll use my breath to put a little bit of moisture on it because I don't want to introduce any foreign substance if I don't have to. And I have found that a little bit of hot air and a little bit of breath is just enough to kind of loosen any dirt or grime or anything that might be on the surface of this card. Because the reality is, if you can't get that stuff off, PSA is not going to give you a great grade anyways. So you might as well take a little bit of a risk, take a little bit of a chance, or don't send it in at all. Like if you want to keep it raw, keep it raw. Like I said, I'm just a big grader guy. So let's say you're doing that. I'm sitting here, I'm applying my heat and my moisture, and I'm swirling around like a little crazy whirling dervish, and I still can't get it off. That is when I'll go to one of these. Okay? Try and see if I can show you this side has a better representation. Okay? So what this is this is a moist towelette that is specifically designed for lenses and screens and glasses. So it is designed not to scratch. That doesn't mean it won't scratch, right? A lot of these cards have texture to them. This one doesn't happen to be a textured one, but you can see, look at that hollow, right? If that is mirrored at all, if that is smudged or messed up, that is going to be knocked down a grade. So I am always very, very reluctant to use one of these. I'm not saying that I don't use them. I do use them. And I will tell you this. I have, up to this point, yet to have it damage a card. That's why I like this brand. I'm going to link it down below. Matter of fact, I'll link all this stuff down below. If anybody wants to know the exact stuff that I use, I'll link it down below. I will say this is my last pack of Grade Saver Pros. There's another brand that I've switched to. These are really good, but I can't find these anymore. So I'll add that down below. I'll link all of this down below. Okay. So let's say we've got all that done, right? We've cleaned the card, we've used our hot breath, we've used the Menti because we need to. Now, what is up next? What can really throw off a card besides all of that? What is something that either we don't think of or is really, really hard to pick up with on the naked eye? You know what that is? I'm gonna use this. I'm gonna use this. This is a centering tool. It is extremely simple. It is extremely cheap. And you simply lay it on top of your card like that. I'm not going to grade this card. I would never do it like this if I was actually grading this card, but this isn't one I'm sending in to get graded, obviously. But you put it on there just like that, and you use these lines, and it will tell you if the card is 60-40, 30-70, 50-50. That way there's no guessing game. You know what the centering is. The most challenging thing for me over the years has been to determine centering with the naked eye. This tool, which costs a couple bucks, solved everything. There's the chart right there. So you use the numbers. If it's a 2-1, it's 66-34. If it's a 2-2, it's 50-50, and all the way down. Again, I'm going to link this in the description below. For me, that's always the biggest challenge, is to tell centering with the naked eye. But this tool solves all of that for you. You don't have to worry about that. Okay, so now we've cleaned our card. Our card is ready to go. What do? Penny sleeves. Listen, they're called penny sleeves for a reason. They're dirt cheap. Use a brand new pack of penny sleeves every single time. It's silly not to. This is a brand new pack because I'm sending some cards out today. Look, don't chimp on this kind of stuff. The people who are grading this are people just like you and me. They're human beings. They have good days. They have bad days, right? What I would highly encourage you to do is to take it between your thumb and forefinger, just give it a little, that's it, just a little twist right there to open it up. Grab your card. Again, we're only grabbing the sides. Slide it in. Again, grab this by the sides, and then this is how OCD I am. I clean my penny sleeve after I put the card in there. I clean the penny sleeve after I put the card in there. Because guess what? The people who are going to look at this, their first impression is going to be when they take this card out to grade it. Before they even get the card out of this Card Saver 1, before they get out of the penny sleeve, their first impression is what that looks like. If it's in a dingy, scratched, dreary penny sleeve and a busted old top loader from 1980, their first impression is going to be this card's not worthy. I promise you. And they're human. They're human beings who are doing this. Until we have some AI that magically does it, you got to make sure that you play to the human side of things. So I try and make things as easy for them as possible. They specifically ask for Card Saver 1s. I try and make things as clean as possible. When I load these in the Card Saver 1s, I try and keep them at the top. That way they don't have to dig their fingers down. Can you imagine if you had to grade 1,000 cards a day and you had to dig your fingers into every single Card Saver 1? That would absolutely drive me crazy. So anyways, I do everything to try and appease the PSA grading gods because they hold all the cards. So I've got it in here, and now we're going to put it into the Card Saver 1. PSA specifically calls out they like Card Saver 1, okay? Now, I go like this, okay? I hold it like that, finger out. I try not to shove my fingers down there if I don't have to, but again, these are brand new, never used before, so they can be a little difficult at times. And I want you to know, your penny sleeve is going to protect your card. Now, that doesn't mean that I want you to hammer it in there, but the penny sleeve is going to protect your card. Now, look. Remember how I said I keep it at the top so it's easy to access? That's all you need. That's all you need. I got all this space down here, but I don't care about it. And then I clean this. I want that grader to pull this card out and think, holy crud, this is perfect before they even get it out. Before they even get out of the freaking penny sleeve, I want them to think this is a 10. Hands down, this is a 10. I don't even need to grade the damn thing. It's a 10. That's why I go through all of this nonsense, because I want to get as many 10s as possible, just like you all do. Okay? Now, again, I specifically talk about PSA. There's a bunch of other graders out there. If you've seen my monthly grading report video, it's almost the end of January, so the February one's going to be coming out soon. PSA is the big dog in the world of grading. You know, I think everybody else is in a race for second, and you can grade with whoever you like. A lot of times it's aesthetic. You know, I think Beckett black labels are really nice. The Beckett company isn't doing great as a whole. But I'm just a PSA guy, and I always will be, so there's that. Now, remember what I told you earlier? I said I have a cheat code that I'm going to share with all of you. And it's not even a cheat code. It is something that is silly, in my opinion, if you don't do. And if anybody doesn't do it, I would love to hear why they don't. But here's what it is. I use an intermediary. There is a company in Georgia. It's gotbaseballcards.com. I've used them before. I love them. And what I will do is I will get all of my cards ready to grade, and I will send them to them. And they do a free pre-screening process before they send them to PSA. They're a bulk submitter for PSA. So I'm sure they get a spread. I'm sure whatever the PSA price is, if PSA's website says $20 and I have to pay $20, I'm sure Got Baseball Cards only has to pay $15, and they make the spread. They probably make $5 per card, whatever that is. I'm fine with it because they pre-screen my cards. The other big thing is you don't have to be a PSA card member. So, you know, if you want to send your cards in for the bulk or value submission level, you have to pay the $99 a year to be a PSA club member. You don't have to do that if you're going through a bulk submitter. So you save $100 right off the bat by not having to be a PSA member by using gotbaseballcards.com. So just another big saving there. Here's my last submission to gotbaseballcards.com. And remember, I have been doing this for a very, very long time. I've submitted tons of cards. I have more PSA slabs than I care to tell you. I sent 21 football cards to gotbaseballcards.com up in Georgia. I sent them in. I checked the box. I want you to pre-screen them. They called me 2 days after they received it, and they said, we got your cards, we've pre-screened them. We want you to know that 20 of the 41 that you've submitted, we don't think you should send in for grading. Now, when I did this, this was a while ago, when I did this, it was about $20 a card. No, it was exactly $20 a card to get it graded. And they said, hey, 20 of the 21, we don't think you should send through to get grading. Now think about that. These are people who look at cards 1,000 times a day, and they said we wouldn't send these through to get graded. That means they probably thought they'd be 6s or 7s or 8s, and I have a pretty trained eye, and I missed all that stuff. So that's $400 I would have spent to get cards graded, where they probably would have ended up being worth less than their raw value. So I said, okay, send through the 21 that you have, and keep the 20 that you don't think should be graded, and we'll just mail them back to me when the other ones come back from PSA. And they said, fine. They keep them in a vault with your name on it. It's really safe and secure. I've done this before. Well, I was traveling in Georgia last week, actually last night, and I got an email from GotBaseballCards.com, and they said, hey, your 18 cards are in, because they had to split the submissions, because 3 of my cards were super old, so they have to go to a special process. But they said the 18 of the more modern ones are in, and we're going to mail them to you. And I said, well, I'm actually in Georgia. Why don't I come pick them up? So I picked them up last night, and I want to show you what they do with the rejects. So the 20 cards that they said we don't think you should send through to get graded. And this hopefully is meant to show you, number one, how awesome they are, and number two, to validate the process that they go through. So this was one of the cards that I sent. So this is Sharpie written on the card saver 1. And look at, I don't know if you can see, it says OC, top to bottom, left to right. So the person who was pre-screening said, this is off center, you shouldn't send it through. This one, off center, left to right. Off center, top to bottom. Here's a different one, surface, and they circle the areas where the surface is off. This card, I would have bet the farm that this card was a PSA 10 gem mint. Bet the farm. Matter of fact, I haven't even had a chance to look and see what these circles represent. I don't even see something under the circles, but I'll look at them. But anyways, they saw these 2 marks and said, you shouldn't send this through and get it graded. Look at this one. This one says surface, has a circle there, and it says 6. So they thought this would get a 6. Surface, 8. So they thought this card would get an 8. This card, if you don't get a 9 or 10, you're out of luck. Off center, surface 8, off center, just says surface, whatever that circle represents. Circle here, off center, surface there. I mean, look at all these cards that I would 3 circles. Look at all of these cards that I would have sent to PSA. I would have had a $100 membership. I would have sent those 20 cards to PSA. I would have spent $400 to get them graded. I would have been mad as a hornet when they came back, because they would have been terrible grades. Sending it through to this pre-screener, it actually, and there's no confirmation on this, but the rumor on the street is they get preferential treatment, and you don't get better grades, but you do sometimes get faster turnaround time. Sometimes the bulkers get faster turnaround times. It goes through the same grading process, so don't think you'll get any bumps in grades. There's nothing like that, but sometimes you do get a faster turnaround time. So that is my ultimate secret. If you're going to send cards to get graded, they do Pokemon cards, they do Magic cards, they do sports cards, obviously, they do tickets, they do everything that PSA does, okay? It's a great company to use. They are awesome. I was really impressed with the store when I showed up yesterday. It's a really professional operation. So anyways, I have another video I'm going to do. I'm going to show you all of these cards that I'm about to send out to PSA. Hopefully you guys think it's a good idea. I think you guys know what some of them are, but this has been a ton of fun. I can't tell you, when I got those cards back from PSA last night, I was like a kid in a candy shop opening them up. They're all football cards. If you guys want to see them, let me know. I can show you, but I know that's not really your game, but it was still super cool. Anyways, you guys have an epic one. We got some more cool videos on grading coming out, and I appreciate your time as always. See you later.